Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. Kent worked diligently on his latest creation. Soft, powder blue fabric flowed through his skilled hands as he carefully guided it along the needle's path. A half-finished dress began to take shape before him, its delicate form a stark contrast to the masculine decor that still adorned his walls. Kent paused for a moment, pushing his long brown hair out of his eyes. He glanced at the clock, nearly midnight. His mother would be asleep by now, giving him the privacy he craved for these late-night sewing sessions. A small smile played at the corners of his lips as he imagined how the finished garment would look and feel. For years, Kent had been secretly exploring his feminine side, donning dresses and makeup when alone. But lately, that other persona, Holly, felt more and more like his true self. The cognitive dissonance was becoming harder to ignore with each passing day. A soft knock at the door startled Kent from his reverie. "Kent, are you still awake, honey?" His mother's voice sent a jolt of panic through him. Frantically, he tried to hide the dress and sewing supplies, but there wasn't enough time. Just a second, Mom!" he called out, his voice cracking slightly. The door creaked open before Kent could fully conceal the evidence of his late-night activities. His mother, Linda, stood in the doorway, her eyes widening as she took in the scene before her. "Oh, Kent," she sighed, stepping into the room. "Are you still doing this?" Kent's cheeks flushed red with embarrassment and shame. He'd tried so hard to keep this part of himself hidden from his mother, fearing her reaction. Now, caught red-handed, he felt exposed and vulnerable. Linda approached the sewing machine, running her fingers over the soft fabric of the unfinished dress. "I thought this was just a phase," she murmured, more to herself than to Kent. "You used to play dress-up when you were little, but I never imagined—" Kent's heart raced as he struggled to find the right words. "Mom, I can explain," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. Linda turned to face her son, her expression a mixture of concern and confusion. "Kent, honey, why didn't you tell me? How long has this been going on?" Taking a deep breath, Kent decided it was time to be honest. It's not just dress-up, Mom. This is who I am. I've felt this way for years, but I was afraid to tell you." Linda sat down on the edge of Kent's bed, patting the space beside her. "Come here, sweetheart. Let's talk about this." Kent hesitantly joined his mother, his hands fidgeting nervously in his lap. "I know it's not what you wanted for me," he said softly. "But when I dress like this, when I'm Holly, I feel like my true self." Linda was quiet for a long moment, processing her son's words. Finally, she reached out and took Kent's hand in hers. "Oh, honey, I had no idea you were struggling with this. I'm so sorry you felt you couldn't come to me sooner." Tears welled up in Kent's eyes. "You're not angry?" "Angry? No, sweetheart. I'm just surprised, that's all. And a little sad that you've been carrying this burden alone for so long." Linda squeezed Kent's hand reassuringly. "I may not understand everything about this, but I want you to know that I love you, no matter what. We'll figure this out together, okay?" Kent nodded, overcome with emotion. For the first time in years, he felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. "Thank you, Mom," he whispered, leaning into her embrace. As the days passed, Linda threw herself into research, determined to understand and support her child. She pored over articles, joined online support groups for parents of transgender individuals, and even reached out to local LGBTQ+ organizations for guidance. One sunny afternoon, Linda knocked on Kent's door, a stack of pamphlets and printouts in her arms. "Kent, do you have a minute?" Kent looked up from his computer, where he'd been browsing makeup tutorials. "Sure, Mom, what's up?" Linda sat down on the bed, spreading out the materials she'd gathered. "I've been doing some reading, and I think I understand a little better now. I want you to know that I'm here for you, whatever you need. If you want to transition, I'll support you every step of the way." Kent's eyes widened in surprise. Really? You'd be okay with that?" "Honey, all I've ever wanted is for you to be happy and true to yourself. If this is what you need to do that, then I'm behind you 100%. Linda paused, a small smile playing at her lips. So should I start calling you Holly? Tears of joy sprang to Kent's eyes as he nodded. Yes, please, I'd like that very much. Linda pulled her child into a tight hug. I love you, Holly. We'll get through this together. Over the next few weeks, Linda helped Holly begin her transition. They started with small steps, like shopping for feminine clothing and accessories. Linda marveled at the joy that radiated from Holly as she tried on dresses and skirts, her face lighting up with each new outfit. One afternoon, they ventured into a department store's makeup section. Holly's eyes widened at the vast array of products before her. I don't even know where to start, she admitted, feeling overwhelmed. Linda squeezed her hand reassuringly. Well, why don't we ask for some help? The salespeople here are usually very knowledgeable. They approached a friendly-looking woman behind the counter who smiled warmly at them. Can I help you ladies find anything today? Holly hesitated, her cheeks flushing slightly. Linda stepped in, her voice gentle but firm. My daughter's just starting to explore makeup. Could you give her some tips on the basics? The salesperson's smile never wavered. Of course! Let's start with finding your perfect foundation shade, shall we? As they left the store an hour later, Holly's face glowed with more than just her new makeup. Thank you, Mom, she said softly. For everything? Linda wrapped an arm around her daughter's shoulders. You don't have to thank me, sweetheart. This is what mothers do. The journey wasn't always smooth sailing, of course. There were moments of frustration and fear as Holly navigated the complex process of transitioning. But through it all, Linda remained a steadfast source of support and love. One particularly difficult day, Holly came home from a doctor's appointment looking dejected. Linda found her sitting on the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the wall. What's wrong, honey? Linda asked, sitting down beside her daughter. Holly sighed heavily. The doctor says I need to wait a few more months before I can start hormone therapy. I feel like I'm in limbo, like I'm not fully myself yet. Linda wrapped an arm around Holly's shoulders. I know it's frustrating, sweetheart, but think of how far you've come already. A few months ago, you were afraid to even tell me about this part of yourself. Now look at you. You're living as your true self, and you're so much happier for it. Holly leaned into her mother's embrace. You're right. It's just hard sometimes. I know, honey, but you're strong and you've got me in your corner. We'll get through this together, okay? As the weeks turned into months, Holly blossomed. With her mother's unwavering support, she gained confidence in her identity and began to truly embrace her authentic self. Linda watched with pride as her daughter grew more comfortable in her own skin, marveling at the vibrant, happy young woman Holly was becoming. One evening, as they sat together on the porch swing, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink, Holly turned to her mother with tears in her eyes. Mom, I don't think I've ever properly thanked you for everything you've done for me, she said, her voice thick with emotion. When I first told you about being Holly, I was so scared. I never imagined you'd be this supportive. Linda reached out and took her daughter's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. Oh, sweetheart, you don't need to thank me. Seeing you happy and living as your true self is all the thanks I need. Holly wiped away a stray tear. But you've done so much. The research, the shopping trips, the doctor's appointments. You even defended me to Aunt Karen when she said those horrible things at the family barbecue. Linda chuckled softly at the memory. Well, your Aunt Karen has always been a bit set in her ways, but she'll come around eventually, and if she doesn't, that's her loss. You're an amazing young woman, Holly, and I'm proud to be your mother. As the sky darkened and the first stars began to twinkle overhead, Holly leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. I love you, Mom, she whispered. Linda pressed a kiss to the top of her daughter's head. I love you too, Holly, always and forever. The following week brought a milestone moment for Holly. Her first day attending school as her true self, she stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down her floral dress and adjusting her long chestnut hair. Linda appeared in the doorway, a proud smile on her face. "You look beautiful, sweetheart. Are you ready?" Holly took a deep breath, meeting her mother's gaze in the mirror. "As ready as I'll ever be, I guess. I'm nervous, but excited too." "That's perfectly normal," Linda reassured her. "Remember, the school administration is on board, and your friends have been so supportive. You've got this, Holly." As they drove to the school, Holly's nerves began to get the better of her. Her leg bounced anxiously, and she kept fidgeting with her hair. Linda reached over and gave her daughter's hand a comforting squeeze. "Hey, it's okay to be nervous, but remember how strong you are. You've already overcome so much. This is just another step on your journey." Holly nodded, taking a deep breath to calm herself. "You're right. I can do this." As they pulled up to the school, Holly spotted her best friend, Emma, waiting by the entrance. Emma waved enthusiastically, a bright smile on her face. "Look, there's Emma," Linda pointed out. "She's been such a good friend through all of this." Holly's tension eased a bit at the sight of her friend. "Yeah, she really has been amazing." Before getting out of the car, Holly turned to her mother. "Mom, would you mind walking me in? Just this once?" Linda's eyes welled up with tears of pride and love. "Of course, sweetheart, I'd be honored." Together, they walked towards the school entrance, Holly's head held high, despite the curious glances from other students. Emma rushed over to meet them, enveloping Holly in a warm hug. "You look amazing," Emma gushed. "Are you ready for this?" Holly nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "I think I am." As the first bell rang, signaling the start of classes, Holly turned to her mother one last time. "Thank you for everything, Mom. I couldn't have done this without you." Linda pulled her daughter into a tight hug. "You're the bravest person I know, Holly. I'm so proud of you. Now go show them all how amazing you are." With a final wave, Holly and Emma disappeared into the school building. Linda watched them go, her heart swelling with pride and love for her daughter. As she walked back to her car, Linda reflected on the journey they'd been on together. From that night, she discovered Kent sewing a dress to this moment, watching Holly stride confidently into school as her true self. It had been a whirlwind of emotions, challenges, and triumphs. She thought about the countless hours of research, the awkward but necessary conversations, the tears shed and the laughter shared. Through it all, Linda had watched her child transform, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. Holly radiated a confidence and joy that Kent had never possessed. Linda knew there would be more challenges ahead. The world wasn't always kind to those who were different, and Holly would face her share of obstacles. But she also knew that her daughter was strong, resilient, and surrounded by love and support. As she started the car, Linda made a silent promise to herself and to Holly. She would continue to be her daughter's fiercest advocate, her strongest supporter, and her safest haven. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. Driving home, Linda felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had always known that parenthood would be full of surprises, but she never could have predicted this particular journey. Yet here she was, the proud mother of a beautiful, brave young woman who had the courage to live her truth. Linda smiled to herself, thinking of how far they'd come and how much farther they might go. The road ahead might not always be smooth, but with love, understanding, and unwavering support, she knew that Holly would continue to flourish and grow into the amazing person she was meant to be. As she pulled into the driveway of their home, Linda's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Holly. "First class went great! Everyone's been so nice. Thank you for everything, Mom. I love you." Linda's eyes welled up with happy tears as she typed her response. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You're amazing. I love you too, always." She sat in the car for a moment longer, savoring the joy and pride that filled her heart. Then, with a contented sigh, Linda stepped out of the car and walked into the house, ready to face whatever new adventures lay ahead in their journey together. As the weeks passed, Holly continued to thrive in her new life. She excelled in her classes, strengthened her friendships, and even joined the school's drama club, discovering a passion for performance that she had never known before. One evening, as Linda was preparing dinner, Holly burst through the front door, her face alight with excitement. "Mom! Mom! You'll never guess what happened!" she exclaimed, practically bouncing with joy. Linda turned from the stove, a smile spreading across her face at her daughter's enthusiasm. "What is it, sweetheart?" Holly took a deep breath, trying to calm herself enough to speak coherently. "So you know how the drama club is putting on Romeo and Juliet for the spring play?" Linda nodded, encouraging her to continue. "Well, I auditioned for it last week, just for fun. I didn't think I'd get a big part or anything, but..." Holly paused for dramatic effect, her eyes sparkling. "I got cast as Juliet." Linda's jaw dropped in surprise and delight. "Oh, Holly, that's wonderful news." She rushed over to envelop her daughter in a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you." As they embraced, Linda couldn't help but marvel at how far Holly had come. Just a few months ago, she had been terrified of anyone discovering her true self. Now here she was, not only living openly as Holly, but also taking center stage in the school play. "We have to celebrate," Linda declared, pulling back to look at her daughter's beaming face. "How about we order your favorite takeout for dinner tonight?" Holly nodded enthusiastically. "That sounds perfect. Can we invite Emma over too? She got cast as the nurse and we wanted to run lines together." "Of course," Linda agreed. "The more, the merrier." As they sat around the dinner table that evening, sharing food and laughter with Emma, Linda felt a warmth in her heart that she hadn't experienced in years. This was what family was all about: love, support, and celebrating each other's victories, no matter how big or small. The weeks leading up to the play were a whirlwind of activity. Holly threw herself into rehearsals with a passion that amazed everyone around her. Linda watched proudly as her daughter blossomed on stage, her natural grace and emotional depth bringing Shakespeare's words to life. There were challenges, of course. Some of the other students whispered and stared, not quite understanding Holly's journey, but for every negative reaction, there were twice as many positive ones. Holly's talent and dedication won over even the most skeptical of her castmates, and soon she was just another member of the drama club family. The night of the play arrived, and Linda found herself sitting in the front row of the school auditorium, her heart pounding with anticipation. As the lights dimmed and the curtain rose, she held her breath, waiting for Holly's first entrance. When Holly appeared on stage, radiant in her costume and glowing with confidence, Linda felt tears spring to her eyes. This was her daughter, strong, beautiful, and unapologetically herself. As Holly delivered her lines with poise and emotion, Linda realized that this performance was about so much more than just a school play. It was a declaration of Holly's right to exist, to be seen, and to be celebrated for who she truly was. After the final curtain call, Linda made her way backstage, a bouquet of roses clutched in her hands. She found Holly surrounded by her castmates, all of them laughing and congratulating each other on a successful performance. "Holly!" Linda called out, and her daughter turned, her face lighting up at the sight of her mother. "Mom!" Holly exclaimed, rushing over to embrace her. "Did you see? Did you like it?" Linda hugged her daughter tightly, careful not to crush the flowers between them. "Like it? Oh, Holly, I loved it. You were absolutely magnificent up there." As she pulled back, Linda saw happy tears shimmering in Holly's eyes. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Mom," Holly said softly. "Your support, it means everything to me." Linda cupped her daughter's face gently, her own eyes misty with emotion. "You did this, Holly. Your strength, your courage, your talent, that's all you. I'm just grateful I get to be here to witness it." As they stood there, surrounded by the bustle of post-performance excitement, Linda felt a sense of profound gratitude wash over her. This journey hadn't always been easy, but watching her daughter shine on stage tonight, she knew without a doubt that every challenge had been worth it. The next day, Holly received a text from Emma inviting her to a house party at her place. Excited to spend more time with her new friend, Holly readily agreed to go. When they arrived, the house was filled with music and laughter. People were dancing, chatting, and enjoying themselves. Emma introduced Holly to her friends, who greeted her warmly. As they mingled, Holly couldn't help but notice how attractive many of the guests were. She felt a flush of desire as her eyes lingered on a particularly handsome young man across the room. Emma must have noticed her interest because she leaned in close to Holly's ear and whispered, "I think he's cute too. Want me to introduce you?" Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more. I hope you have a wonderful day, my cutie.